What if every thought you hold in the quiet chambers of your heart is already a command whispered to the stars? There is a strange rhythm to life, a silent architecture beneath the surface of things in which desire is not merely a fleeting spark, but a seed planted in the unseen soil of the cosmos. When we speak of intention, we are not talking about mere preference or shallow whim. Intention is the quiet pulse of the soul, the moment when the inner current aligns itself with the great tide of existence. It is as though the universe itself leans forward, listening, waiting for clarity in our asking. Many people confuse wanting with wishing. Wishing is fragile, easily broken by doubt, scattered by fear, dispersed like smoke in the wind. But true wanting, true intention, has a density, a weight, an undeniable presence. It anchors itself in the marrow of who we are. Carl Jung once suggested that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. And perhaps intention is precisely this act of bringing the unconscious into light, of shaping the raw clay of longing into a form that life can recognize and respond to. Think of a seed buried in the earth. For days, perhaps weeks, nothing appears. The soil looks unchanged, silent, inert. Yet beneath that stillness, a hidden force is at work. Roots seeking, life pushing, a silent pact between seed and soil. Intention works in this same subterranean way. To the impatient eye, nothing may seem to happen at first, but in the invisible, the universe has already begun its quiet conspiracy. The right people appear. A chance encounter opens a path. A forgotten book falls into your hands, offering exactly the wisdom you needed. Is it magic? Is it coincidence? Or is it the secret order of things responding to the clarity of your call? The mystics would say that intention is not a demand we impose on the universe, but a remembering of our kinship with it. To intend is not to force, but to attune. To tune the strings of the soul until they vibrate in harmony with the eternal music that surrounds us. Consider this. How often do we scatter ourselves, divided between countless half-formed desires, never lingering long enough for one to take root? We dream of one life by morning, another by night. We chase after illusions, only to abandon them when the road grows steep. And so the universe remains silent, for it cannot conspire with confusion. But when the heart grows still, when it knows clearly what it longs for, a doorway opens. The Sufi poet Rumi once wrote, "What you seek is seeking you." This is not a metaphor for wishful thinking. It is a recognition of the intimate dialogue between the inner world and the outer. When you desire with the whole of your being, when your intention is no longer fractured but singular, life responds. You're not begging the universe to rearrange itself for you. Rather, you are stepping into alignment with the flow that was always there, waiting for your consent. And yet, intention requires courage. For to intend clearly is also to risk. It is to declare oneself vulnerable to disappointment, to open the gates of longing wide. This is why so many avoid true intention. They prefer to keep their desires vague, their dreams half-spoken. But vague desires summon only vague responses. The universe whispers back in the same language you speak to it. Speak with hesitation, and it hesitates. Speak with clarity, and it moves. Perhaps this is the hidden wisdom in Coelho's words. It is not that the universe is a servant rushing to fulfill our every wish. It is that the universe mirrors the intensity of our sincerity. When we are fragmented, the mirror reflects only fragments. But when we are whole in our intention, the mirror reveals pathways we could never have imagined. So ask yourself, what do you truly want? Not what you think you should want, not what others have planted in your mind, but what the still voice beneath your surface longs for. That voice, once heard, once honored, becomes the axis around which your life can turn. And yet, here lies a paradox worth contemplating. If the universe conspires to fulfill our intention, who is truly desiring? Is it we who set the intention? Or is the intention itself the universe longing through us? Could it be that every true desire is not ours alone, but a fragment of eternity yearning to be born? Perhaps intention is less about asking for what we want and more about remembering what life has always wanted through us. But if that is true, how do we learn to distinguish the noise of passing whims from the voice of authentic intention? If the true desire within us is not always born from the restless chatter of the mind, then how do we distinguish between the echo of passing whims and the authentic call of intention? The question lingers like a quiet bell at dawn, for not all that we want is truly ours, and not all that burns in us is meant to be pursued. The marketplace of the mind is crowded with voices, cultural expectations, inherited dreams, fleeting cravings. They rise and fall like waves on a restless sea. And yet, hidden beneath this surface turbulence lies a deeper current, steady and unmistakable, guiding us toward what is essential. To sense this current requires stillness, a kind of listening that modern life rarely teaches. We are trained to act, to accumulate, to strive endlessly toward goals that shimmer like mirages, always receding. But intention is not found in the noise of striving, it reveals itself in silence. In the same way that a lake reflects the sky only when its surface is calm, the soul reflects its true longing only when the waters of thought are stilled. The authentic intention does not come to enslave us, it comes to liberate us. It is not born of fear, but of alignment. Think of the difference between the wind that whips aimlessly across an open field and the river that carves its path steadily through stone. One scatters, the other shapes. To follow every passing want is to live scattered, dispersed. To discover intention is to find the river within us, the force that carries us toward a destiny already inscribed in the hidden architecture of our being. And yet there is a paradox here. If the authentic intention is already inscribed, does that mean our choice is an illusion? Are we merely following a script written by the cosmos long before we arrived? Perhaps the answer is not so simple. Meister Eckhart once spoke of the soul as both rooted in God and free in its expression. Intention, then, may be the meeting point of freedom and destiny. We do not create it entirely, nor are we entirely bound by it. Rather, we participate in it, like dancers guided by a music they did not compose, but can interpret uniquely with every movement. To cultivate this listening requires a different posture toward life. It asks us to shift from the arrogance of control to the humility of openness. Instead of forcing outcomes, we align ourselves with them. Instead of demanding guarantees, we cultivate trust. This trust is not blind. It is born of the recognition that the same intelligence that breathes through the seasons and binds galaxies in spirals is also present in the movements of our own hearts. When intention arises from this depth, it carries with it a peculiar grace. We no longer chase opportunities frantically, for the right ones seem to arrive with uncanny timing. We no longer beg for signs, for synchronicities unfold naturally, like petals opening to the sun. What we once called coincidence begins to feel like correspondence, as if life itself were writing letters in the language of events, guiding us quietly, insistently, toward what matters. This does not mean the path is easy. To walk with intention is to accept both the light and the shadow it brings. Every authentic longing calls us to change, to shed old skins, to leave behind familiar shores. The seed must break open before it can grow. In the same way, intention demands transformation. It reshapes us as much as it reshapes the world around us. And perhaps this is why the universe conspires in its favor, because in fulfilling authentic intention, it fulfills itself. So, what if every true desire you have ever carried was never yours alone, but the cosmos remembering itself through you? If intention is less about bending reality to your will and more about discovering the will of reality already alive within you. If this is so, then the question arises, how do we live with such intention? Not as a fleeting insight, but as a way of being, moment by moment. Perhaps the answer lies in the art of surrender, the paradox of finding strength in letting go. To live with intention as a way of being, moment by moment, we must turn to the paradox whispered at the end of our last reflection, that strength is found not in grasping, but in letting go. Surrender is not the death of intention, but its completion. It is the recognition that once the seed of longing is planted with clarity, we must allow the soil of life to nurture it in its own mysterious rhythm. Surrender does not mean passivity. It does not mean to abandon effort or responsibility. It means releasing the feverish need to control every outcome, to dictate the precise shape and timing of what unfolds. For life has its own intelligence, far greater than the calculations of our minds. When we release our grip, intention ceases to be a rigid demand and becomes a flowing collaboration with the whole. Think of the archer. He draws the bow with precision, aligns his body with the target, steadies his breath. All his focus converges on that single act of release. Yet once the arrow leaves his fingers, it no longer belongs to him. The wind, the air, the unseen currents all carry it forward. His responsibility was clarity of aim, but the path of the arrow is the dance between his intention and the vast, uncontrollable forces of the world. So it is with us. We are called to aim, to clarify, to align the bow of our being with the truth of our longing. But we are also called to release, to trust the invisible winds to carry our arrow where it is meant to go. This is surrender, not weakness, but communion, not resignation, but participation in the greater order. And in this surrender, something remarkable happens. we begin to see that the universe was never conspiring against us. It was conspiring through us, as us, the entire time. The synchronicities, the challenges, even the obstacles we once resented, become part of the conspiracy itself. They were never accidents, but secret teachers, bending us, shaping us, refining the sharpness of our aim. To live this way is to walk in rhythm with existence. The small self, with its endless anxieties and calculations, loosens its grip. We become less like architects drawing rigid blueprints, and more like gardeners, tending the soil, trusting the seasons, knowing that growth cannot be forced, only invited. And as this trust deepens, a quiet peace takes root, the peace of knowing we are not separate from the current we swim in. In this light, Paulo Coelho's words shine differently. And when you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you achieve it. It is not a promise that every whim will be granted, nor a guarantee of an unbroken path. It is the revelation that when intention is true, when it springs from the deep well of our being, and not from the restless noise of desire, life itself bends to meet it. The conspiracy is not external. It is the recognition of our unity with all things. Here lies the final paradox. Intention is both utterly personal and utterly universal. It is our unique longing, yet also the longing of the cosmos to express itself through us. It is the river flowing through our individual banks, carving a course that belongs both to us and to the whole. To intend consciously, then, is to say yes, not only to our own becoming, but to the unfolding of the world. And so we return to the seed buried in silence. It does not force itself open. It yields to the darkness, trusts the soil, and waits for the rain. Yet within its surrender, a miracle stirs, the quiet conspiracy of life itself, answering a call older than time. What if every step you take, every longing you honor, every intention you release into the mystery is part of this great conspiracy? What if the universe has always been leaning toward you, waiting for you to lean back? Perhaps the truest power of intention lies not in bending the world to our will, but in realizing that our will was never separate from the world. In that realization, clarity blooms, trust deepens, and life itself becomes a dance between wanting and surrender, between the arrow and the wind, between the seed and the rain. And as we rest in this mystery, let us remember, to live with intention is not to control the universe, but to conspire with it. If these reflections have stirred something within you, let them guide you further. Support this journey by liking the video and subscribing, so that together we may continue listening to the whispers of the cosmos.